You are now tuned in to the From Earth podcast with your host, Julius from Earth. Check us out on any of the major digital streaming platforms or on our website at FromEarthPodcast.buzzsprout.com. And as always, thank you for tapping in. Yo, what's going on, fellas? How y'all feeling tonight?
You good, man? Good. What's happening?
I can't call it. Essa was really good with you, bro.
Feeling elated. That's my big word for the night.
That's your big word.
Elated.
Elated.
What episode 62. All right, what's going on, everybody? This is episode 62 of the From Earth podcast, and I am your host, Julius from Earth, and I'm here with the homie Esoteric
What's going on, family?
and with B Davis.
What's happening?
And From Earth podcast is just happy to be back on again. You know what I mean? We're rocking. We're rocking. I don't know what else to say.
Yeah.
Other than the fact that we're gonna keep doing this thing, right?
Gonna keep doing it, man.
First and foremost, I guess we can start off with how was everybody's holiday? How was everybody's Christmas?
Good, man. It was good.
How was your Christmas, sir?
My Christmas was good, bro. My Christmas was good. I was able to spend, the holiday, a good portion of the holiday with my family, and then we all got together and kicked it later on in that evening.
We did.
And did I
Wild
can't even
night.
call that. Yeah, it wasn't like a Pollyanna either. It was like
It wasn't
some crazy gift exchange that I just was not prepared for at
Facts.
Listen, it's not about anything outside of just the fact of giving. That's all it is.
all. Bro, listen.
That's all it is.
I feel like you was trying to prove a point.
What? Did I enjoy giving?
No,
That's a pause moment, actually.
I was one of those.
I know you're thinking about it.
But in the spirit,
what we're
of
talking about.
what we're talking about, I was like, let me not ruin it, right?
Right.
Let me not ruin it. But tonight, everybody's good.
Yeah, man.
I just can't wait till these holidays are over.
Yeah,
I'll be happy on January 5th.
yeah, for real. I'm kind of there with you. I mean,
Yeah.
all the holidays and everything, just
Yeah.
it just does something to people.
Phew.
It does something to people. Me personally, in the span of a week, I've been called toxic. I've been called narcissistic. And just today, I was basically told that I'm a baby back B. You know what I mean? And nicer words.
Jesus.
You sound like Esso.
So pretty much par for the course.
There you go.
But I can't complain, bro. I mean, I'm here.
You here?
And
We here, man.
Yeah, we here. So we just gonna rock out.
Okay,
Yeah.
wait. Can we big up that vodka though? Can we please? Because I feel like that people need to know about this. That was life changing, bro.
Yeah.
Life changing. Yo,
Good liquor? Listen, man. If y'all still drinking trash,
oh my
yeah,
god,
I mean,
changed my life in a matter of a sip.
you're still drinking Smirnoff.
Throughout all the bottles after
Yeah,
that.
like
You got
Svedka.
got these two bougie people as if we got any type of sponsors or anything like that.
Nope.
Hey.
Smirnoff, if you wanna, you know what I mean?
Do better.
Yeah, facts.
You wanna
Do
sponsor
better.
the From Earth podcast.
If you want to sponsor From Earth, make a better vodka first.
Man, y'all just
Then we can talk about it.
You too,
guys
Goose. You
really
too.
know how to. You guys really know how to just drive home the point, don't you?
Hey, I will only be sponsoring quality.
Yes.
You
Made
know
in
what I'm saying?
Iceland.
I don't know
yes.
about you.
Made in
You know what I mean?
From the ashes.
From the ashes.
You know what I mean? If my vodka's not filtered by volcanoes,
Yo,
You
we
don't
don't
want
want
it?
it.
Don't talk to
We
me.
don't want it.
All right,
I
that's
don't want
funny.
it, bro. I don't want it.
From iceberg water. That's what we
Iceberg
need.
water.
Yeah, man.
Well, I guess for purposes of what we're doing tonight, we can start off with a couple of RIPs.
Yeah.
First and foremost, RIP Desmond Tutu
Yes.
passed today.
A couple days ago. 26.
ago.
Actually, day after Christmas.
Okay, day after Christmas.
Yeah.
RIP Desmond Tutu. RIP John Madden.
Yeah.
John Madden is kind of, I feel like for a lot of us, for our generation, there was probably a little bit of a connection there with the video games, right?
Yeah.
Just that whole Madden series on, I guess it was Sega, PlayStation,
Everything.
both,
Yeah.
Yeah.
both, right? Yeah, man. I don't know what to say, man. 85 years old, lived a long life. You know, I would imagine, you know, there was a lot of fulfillment in that. I can't speak for him or his family, but
Yeah.
you know, I would just imagine that was the case. You know, but still, R.I.P. to those two. We can let's start with Kim Potter. Let's start with Kim Potter.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah.
the former police officer. What was that? Minnesota?
Yeah, man.
I think it was Minnesota. That recently found
What's going on in Minnesota, bro?
a lot.
Like,
A lot. But let me get this out. Recently found guilty of a couple different charges. Second degree manslaughter. I don't know all the titles, right? But definitely looking at some years.
There was 15. It was
Yeah, definitely looking at some years for in the death of Dante Wright.
correct.
right. Yeah.
So I think I know we did. I know we talked about this way back in the past, but I'm bringing it back up because I don't know if everybody's familiar with this story. Dante Wright was he was a young man that was pulled over in the execution of a warrant, I believe, for weapons. It was warrant for weapons, and how the story goes was there was a bit of a altercation. Fight or whatever, resisting arrest. I'm sorry, resisting arrest, and the officer Kim Potter was said to be in search of her taser and instead pulled her firearm and shot him and killed him. And so that was on the. I think that was actually on the heels of the George Floyd
Yeah,
verdict. I believe.
it was actually tried in the same courthouse too.
Yeah. So there obviously, tensions were high at the time. I mean, they still are, understandably so, right? But this stems from that time period for anybody who just needed a refresher, right? Is there anything that either one of you two wants to highlight, wants to discuss, wants to really kind of like bring out about this topic?
Yeah. So they pulled him over. So at the time, the Kim Potter chick was training a rookie officer. And so they pulled this dude over, Dante, because he had an air freshener hanging from his rearview mirror, which apparently is illegal. And I think it's actually illegal in a lot of places for some reason. So for whatever reason, air fresheners are a big deal. And because they pulled him over for an air freshener, that's what got this whole thing rocking, right? So she pulls him over for an air freshener. He was probably like, "Why are you pulling me over for an air freshener?" And then this ensued. And so I guess she allegedly thought she was reaching for her taser, pulls her gun out, shoots him, and tries to claim, oh, this is just a tragic accident.
Which again, the taser's on the left side,
Right.
guns on the right,
Right.
which is her predominant hand.
Right. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, all the stuff that we hear about police and training and all this kind of stuff and all the things that, people have been saying for a long time as far as like the training is clearly flawed. The training is obviously not working, right? This is just another case showing us that that's true. This is another instance where we are seeing, well, if you're telling me this person is so uniquely trained to do this job, and yet you accidentally pull a gun instead of a taser. First of all, I don't know if anybody's ever picked up a taser before, but they definitely do not feel like picking up a loaded service weapon.
Correct.
Right? Like if anybody's ever held a pistol with a full clip in it, you know what that feels like. Mm-hmm. You know that does not feel like a taser. You understand what I'm saying? So like it baffles me. It baffles me how these things go down, and these are the excuses that these people give and try to get away with all too often.
All right, so let me ask you this, right?
Yeah.
From my understanding, she was a 26-year veteran.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know what her service record was prior to. Like I'm not familiar with it.
Right.
I'm curious though, if there's any way that either one of you could maybe see a scenario or a situation where, in the moment of, where things are intensifying.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anywhere where you can see maybe how decision making was a little bit shaky?
No.
No,
I'm
not
I'm,
not
I'm
with
asking not in a manner of trying to pose an opposing view, but really just say like, you know, is there? And I know all this may be moot at this point because she was already found guilty.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm curious for the rest of the people who want to, take the position of, back the blue and this was a mistake. And I'm just
Mm-hmm.
asking for purposes of
Here's what I'll say to that. In all seriousness, she was on the job for how long? 26
Thank you.
years.
That's exactly what I was gonna say.
Her gun been in the same
Yeah.
place the entire time, bro. Her pistol hasn't moved. You see what I'm saying? So the same place she was reaching for that pistol 26 years ago is the same place that she reached for it that day.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So whether it's training, whether it's muscle memory, whatever you want to call it, like she knew where that pistol was, and that's what she went for.
so you believe that she intentionally
Yes.
grabbed her gun
Absolutely.
rather than her taser.
Absolutely.
That's so.
When I was reading as far as how they described it during a trial, there's also differences of how you access each weapon, and it takes more for the gun than the taser to be drawn out.
Mm.
So there's more decision making as far as timing in itself. You know what I mean? And again, you're a 26-year veteran. These are not mistakes that you are going to teach any rookie cop. You know what I'm saying? Because here's the thing. Do we hear about this any other time? Where accidentally pulled the wrong weapon, accidentally shooting somebody? No, really don't. Maybe it's because of media purposes, even what we're dealing with now. But even then, these are not accidents that are notable in the public eye.
And this is the reason why she's looking at 15 years and not life, right? Because of the charges. Because they said, oh, it's second degree or negligence or manslaughter, however they decided to categorize it. They didn't look at it from a legal standpoint as this was premeditated homicide. So the courts took this into their opinions basically when filing the charges. They said, okay, even if this was an accident, you're still culpable.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You don't get to make these types of accidents that cost people their lives.
We know that the court of public opinion can be swayed or can swing differently. Right?
Absolutely.
And so I'm curious because there was an additional part of I guess what the police footage was or whatever where she can be heard, and I think it was seen actually visibly upset, crying. Like, oh my God, I'm going to go to jail. I meant to grab my taser.
Right.
And I'm curious. Like I said, I'm not trying to, shoot her no bail or anything like that. But
Sure.
I'm just curious as to whether or not that looks or sounds like something that could reasonably be a reasonable mistake.
Unfortunately for her, right, I think that a lot of people have become immune to white woman tears. So she can claim to feel bad. She can cry a little bit if she wants to, but I think we've reached a point where there's no room for tolerance when these types of things happen.
Here's a good question, and it's rhetorical as fuck. But if we held if we held police officers the same standards as doctors, would we be having this conversation?
We wouldn't be. No.
Okay, because a doctor who could be the best in his field fucks up one time, probably loses his license, probably won't be able to practice again, probably has to go through a whole bunch of everything just to get back to do what he does best. Okay, we don't hold them police officers who we, again, pay
Right.
specifically every day, every week, every bi-weekly month, whatever you want to call it. We pay these people to protect and serve.
I'm glad you brought this comparison up, SO, because you know what doctors have? Malpractice insurance.
Yep.
You understand what I'm saying? So if there is a mistake, right, they recognize they work in an industry where it is possible that mistakes actually can happen, right? And they recognize that fault can occur. So at what point do we start saying to these police officers, hey, if you guys are saying you're making so many mistakes because you're overworked or because you're not getting the right training or you're alleging that the funding isn't there, this, that, and the third, well, then perhaps you all should have this same type of insurance as well. Perhaps the money that comes out to pay for these settlements should come out of police pension funds, right? Instead of directly from taxpayers.
Here's the reason I don't agree with that because the medical field, and it's right there in the word, is always going to be a practicing field to where it's getting better and advancement. There's not any absolute for something of how it can't get better, progress. The tangibility of policing, so to speak, is kind of more or less based on the person. It's a tangible training course. There's no more training outside of, this is your service weapon, this is how you draw it, this is how you shoot it, blah, blah, blah. You're not going to get any more training to know how to do that. You see what I'm saying? It's not changing levels of how we police. We're trying to change sensitivity of the person who's pulling that trigger, for that matter. So it's not the same field as far as, because one is trying to, you would think, protect the community. The other one is trying to save the life in some aspects.
So I would say that I think that's partially correct, right? I think that when you're talking about policing, yeah, you're talking about the sensitivity of the police officer because they have to make, allegedly split-second decisions while they're in the field, right? Mm-hmm. But they do have a binding set of rules that they have to follow, and that's the law.
Correct.
Right? They still have to operate inside of the framework of the law.
Correct.
Regardless of their sensitivities, right. Regardless of how they feel. This isn't a feeling type of situation. This is definitely facts over feelings right now. Go ahead, Jay.
No, I was just going to say that, I feel in a lot of cases that we've discussed in the past where I would agree with you guys. Mm-hmm. And I don't absolutely disagree on this one here. But as I've stated in a lot of our prior and previous episodes, when you look at it case by case and situationally, I think that there are other things that you can factor in. It's hard. This is not the Derek Chauvin with George Floyd kneeling on his neck for 9 minutes. The result was the same. The outcome was the same, right? I get that, but in this instance, and once again, I know that this may seem like I'm shooting bail, and I'm not trying to, but I'm just saying that I can see a lane, and maybe this is a bit of my bleeding heart coming through, but I can see a lane where, in the moment like that, and you're in an altercation, an entanglement with somebody in the community, however the interaction was initiated, where your decision making can be a little bit skewed. It doesn't excuse her.
Here's where I take issue with that, right? Because you're right, it's not Derek Chauvin. The problem is it shouldn't have to be. That's where they want the baseline to be set at. They want the baseline to be set at Derek Chauvin. They want the baseline to be set at the people that killed Ahmaud Arbery. Mm-hmm. They want the baseline to be graphic, grotesque, recorded, repeated, enough to where no one can say anything bad about it if they're trying to have a sensible, rational conversation. That's where they want the baseline. So that way, all the instances that happen where you can say, well, maybe,
right,
then they can get away with it. You see what I'm saying? So to me personally, if I look at it and I say, all right, you're supposed to be trained. You're supposed to have this type of experience. You're supposed to do X, Y, Z when you're in the field. You're supposed to, remember this rule, this law, that law when you pull somebody over because of your training, because of your experience. When it doesn't go that way, then there has to be some form of consequence. In this particular case, the consequence is met because the person actually died and lost their life. Mm-hmm. So now the consequence for the mistake is amplified. You see what I'm saying? It's not as if, she made some type of mistake and the guy had a broken wrist, right? Like that's not what occurred. Like the person actually died here. So the consequence then has to fit that for not following the particular rule. Like I as a reasonable, rational person, I can understand that somebody that is in conflict may not make the right decision at the time.
Right.
However, them not making the right decision at the time doesn't free them of the consequence of their wrong decision. And that's where we're at here. To me, anyway, I feel like the consequence for her incorrect decision is 15 years in jail. And I don't have a problem with that. And especially when we're talking about Minnesota, I mean, look at all the stuff that has gone on in Minnesota with the police.
I get it.
You know what I'm saying? Like, clearly there's an issue
I get it.
with policing
So
there.
I guess all right. So here's, and I'll toss it to both of you then, right?
Yeah.
Do we all feel that 15 years is reasonable, is an appropriate amount of time for the consequence for this action? I'm asking.
I don't know how to quantify.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? I don't know how to quantify because I wasn't related to this dude, right? If that was you, you know what I'm saying? Would I think 15 years is enough? No, right? But I'm not in that. I'm not in that. I don't have that family's pain in my chest. You see what I'm saying? So only they're the ones that have to receive the justice. So they're really the only ones to me that can say, okay, this works, this doesn't work, whatever. I don't know, how long we should punish somebody in these cases because how you can't make it fair. Like you can never bring. You can't bring that person back.
I'm glad you said that because that's really what it kind of comes down to, right? Like I don't know that there's any amount of years or time or money for Dante Wright's family where they would have felt like, okay, this fits.
Exactly.
You get what I'm saying?
Yep.
So I don't want to be cold and say like let's factor that part out. I'm not trying to say that, but I guess what I'm asking is when you look at everything else that Kim Potter stands to lose, her career, her pension, and all of the things that come along with that, shame on the family. I like you just said, B, I don't necessarily know how to quantify that either.
Right.
But I feel like that factors in for something, right?
Sure.
But that's, I mean, for me, I'm not the judge that has to make that determination,
Right.
or that decision. And I'm curious because I know that we have a lot of listeners that, when we start talking about these types of topics, feel they're very opinionated. And so I encourage and I invite anybody who's watching on YouTube or listening on any of the streaming platforms, if you would like to give your input, please feel free to do so. Because this is one of those scenarios where, for me, I'm curious as to where everybody stands on this. Do I feel like the right decision was made? Yeah, I mean, I guess I do. In this case, I do agree with the court of law. You know what I mean? I'm not going to say that I don't agree with it. I think I do agree with it. I'm just curious as to whether 15 years was is the, appropriate amount of time.
I'm curious to see where people are looking at this example and what it reflects going forward. What I don't want this to be tied into is more or less like another win for Black Lives Matter. This is literally it's isolated incident from what the situation is. Because we haven't had much traction on anything. And again, this is still Minnesota technically leading the way for something that we have yet to see on a national level.
Which is wild.
Extremely wild.
You know what I'm saying?
You know what I'm saying?
Minnesota, of all places.
We don't have this kind of press on a national level. You know what I mean? We don't get the kind of expectations that we're looking for as far as of police reform from left to right. You know what I'm saying?
One of the things I do want to add, though, for all of the YouTube commenters and everything else, understand this, though. Once you start using trigger words and trigger language like scumbag and things of that nature to define or identify the person who lost their life here, your credibility is automatically going to be pulled on that. Just understand that, because I know that that's a very common word used in the law enforcement field and in an arena and with the family members of law enforcement. But just understand, number one, it carries a negative connotation. Number two, this man lost his life, didn't necessarily need to lose his life. The crime didn't fit the act.
You ain't even got to tell them all that, Jack.
No, I know.
No, because this is what you do. This is what you do. When they start calling it, him a scumbag, ask him how they felt about cops pulling people out of Burger King for not being vaccinated.
Yeah, how about that?
Right? Because then the cops are the Gestapo. Then it's the KGB. Then it's, we're an authoritarian state. Then it's, the cops don't work for the people. They work for the government. You understand what I'm saying? The amount of outrage over people being pulled out of Burger King for not being vaccinated was to me amusing, but it highlighted the fact that y'all just telling on yourselves, man. Y'all just telling on yourselves. That's all you're doing. Because
you're right. And
you see what I'm saying?
And I don't want to go back and forth, but their debate is going to be that, people, eating in Burger King don't have criminal records. That's what their argument is going to be. And my point to what I was saying was that doesn't matter.
You know who does have a criminal record? Kim Potter.
It doesn't matter. Just because a law enforcement officer had to do her job and then did it incorrectly and then got the consequences for the action doesn't absolve her of the act, and it doesn't give you any right to call people criminals or whatever, scumbags or anything. Just understand. You're like B said, you're telling on yourself.
Telling on yourself, bro.
You're clearly telling on yourself.
That's all it is.
And let's not be one-sided about it. Like if y'all want to, if we want to have a reasonable, rational conversation about it, let's be reasonable and let's be rational with it. Like plain and simple. Let's do that.
Right. But they can't be.
We'll see.
You know what I'm saying?
We'll see.
They can't.
Like I said, I invite anybody who wants to drop comments or whatever. Please feel free to do so. I don't block. I let every comment sit. I let every comment stay.
Yep.
Because I want the world to see.
Absolutely.
But just understand.
They tell themselves all the time. It's like the one person who doesn't want to get the vaccine, but also wants to, make women's choice for them. Same person.
Yep.
I'm just saying. But go ahead. But
Yeah.
that makes all the sense somehow.
Right.
All right. Let's move along to. You want to get to Cuomo? You want to get to Cuomo? No longer.
Bro, he's
back in
about
the
to
seat yet?
he's about to be president in a couple
Bro.
years, man. At this rate?
So B, I know that you feel very strongly on this topic, right, B? And you've been vocal about it in previous episodes.
Yeah.
But if you don't mind, if you could just kind of give us your take on the Cuomo situation altogether.
Yeah. So the Attorney General in New York, I think, what's her name, Letitia James, announced a few months back that they felt they had 11 credible allegations against Cuomo for sexual harassment. Right. This led to him obviously resigning, leaving office, and in the last week or so, I believe 2 different counties that had some allegations in their county to investigate came back and said that they were not able to continue on and press charges. I think both of them cited it was outside the statute of limitations, right? So I think there was 11 total people involved in the beginning. I think this takes 3 of them off the list.
What's
so
limitations
far.
in New York? 6?
I don't know what the statute of limitations is in New York. I'm not sure.
You're going to do your research.
I'm doing the research.
But my thing was when this happened, and this is regardless of whether he's guilty or not. Like I'm not about to debate whether he did what is alleged that he did, right? But when they did the original investigation and came back and said, "Oh, we think we have these credible claims," did they not know when the hell these claims happened?
Yeah, they didn't have dates. And
Like, did they
times.
not have a date, like, or a year even of when these things allegedly happened? Like, how does that slip by? How is there a press conference and you're saying, "Oh, we believe these are credible allegations," and you have no idea when they happened? To the point where, counties start investigating and then they have to come back and say, "Oh, well, this is outside the statute."
Do you think that there was any political pressure in the background here?
There was absolutely political pressure.
I'm talking about to no longer pursue these charges.
No. Because statute of limitations is the statute of limitations. Like, you can't fake that. You see what I'm saying? Like, if they gave some other if they came out and said, "Oh, we don't think these are credible. Oh, we don't have enough evidence," or something like that, then you can start to ask yourself, well, was that politically motivated, right? Because they can fabricate the story however they want. They can investigate the parts of the story however they want to bring something out in their favor for whatever it is they choose to look for. When you say it's a statute of limitation, that's a hard line in the sand.
Here's a fun fact, because I'm trying to figure out how they would label this one. Basically, New York has 4 different ones, looks like. They have 1 year for petty offenses, 2 years for anything that's kind of misdemeanor. Most felony offenses have a 5-year.
So,
But
okay, go ahead.
But rape and murder have none.
Correct.
So where are they classifying his situation?
So his allegations were originally considered to be misdemeanors. I do remember that from the original time that they were talking about it. They said none of them rose to felony offense. They were all misdemeanors. So anything that happened, I guess, over 2 years ago,
Right. So
is a statute of limitations,
Right.
right? And when you asked me if I thought there was political motivation, I thought you meant as far as the allegations in the beginning, right?
Well, yeah, I meant both ways. I meant the allegations in the beginning.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
then I meant towards on the back end, like
Yes.
where they kind of figured maybe they couldn't make they couldn't make things stick.
Now, I absolutely believe there's political motivation in the beginning, right? If we think back a year ago to how much press Cuomo was getting, dealing with the pandemic and things like that, he was on TV almost every other day, on national TV, not even just, in New York TV, but nationally was getting covered on MSNBC, right? On almost a daily basis. That posed a threat to the Democratic establishment, right? And specifically, Joe Biden at the time and what he was, what he's trying to solidify in his presidency with his people, right? You don't want another person in your party getting that many compliments and earning that much favor.
Basically doing better than you.
Exactly. So I do believe that there was a push somewhere, to tamp that down.
Clear him out the paint.
And even with the progressive movement, right? The trying to get the progressive movement popping and all that kind of stuff. This new wave of politicians, you want to push some of those old guys out the way. Mm-hmm. So this is why it was interesting to me that all this happened in the last week and a half. Because what happened about a week and a half ago, the Build Back Better Act basically got shut down, which was a huge blow for the progressive movement. Yep. So now the progressives, basically get a gut punch, and next thing you know, we can't press these charges. You see what I'm saying? Now these charges start to fall away, which was probably information they had in the beginning. So that's where this is about politics, right? This isn't about policies. This isn't about right or wrong. This isn't about who did what. To me, this is strictly about politics right now.
But doesn't it just feels kind of funny because it comes on the back of almost like the Me Too.
When you say it's coming on the back of Me Too, what do you mean?
I'm saying it feels like they wanted to link it to, like, listen, women are making claims.
Yes.
And we have to act.
Yep.
And then now it's like you just said, everything you just highlighted, and now it's like, yeah, we're just gonna forget about all that.
Oh,
I know. I
yes.
understand the statute of limitations.
Sure.
But that's why I'm saying it feels funny, and it's almost as much of a blow to women and women's rights and
yes
and that, because now it's like, I mean, we know about it. There's been so much talk in the past about why don't women come forth? Why don't women speak out?
Yep.
And this is just, this can appear to be another example of
absolutely,
why they don't.
The same way I said 2 weeks ago that your boss doesn't care about your pronouns. You know what I'm saying? Whether we're talking about your actual boss that you work with, or your senators, your representatives, your president, your vice president. Listen, those people don't care about the Me Too movement either. That's all lip service for them. If they really wanted to do something about this, laws would actually get passed.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? When they want to devote money to bridges that go literally nowhere, they do it. They find the money, right? So if this was something that was worthwhile for them to actually pursue, somebody would write a damn law, and then someone else would actually vote on it. Plain and simple. Yeah. So they don't care about, and that's why these things are allowed to permeate. That's why the politics are allowed to continue as they do.
It's unfortunate. That's all.
No, I got nothing.
Nothing.
I mean, I was going to tie it in a whole bunch of other stuff, but
yeah,
kind of put the nail on the head. So
okay. So where do we want to go? Do we want to go Ghislaine, or do we want to go CDC?
Oh, the CDC.
All right, let's go CDC.
Let's do it.
So as of what's today?
I'm sorry.
Today
We're going to tie it late right after the Me Too
December
movement, though.
29th.
Yeah.
Yeah. December 29th. I think the CDC came out on the 27th, 28th.
Yeah, like 2 days ago.
About decreasing the quarantine time for people who test positive for COVID-19.
Yeah.
And that had people up in arms.
Of course.
That had people up in arms, and you're right. Yeah, I think that's what I'm curious as to the messaging that this sends, right? And if anybody, if either one of you wants to lend some clarity on why this decision, in your opinion, why this decision was made.
I'm going to make it real short and terse, okay?
Terse.
B just said it. It's lip service.
Yep.
It's all this is lip service. It's what's happening for the now. It's what we can do now. Everybody's getting more vaccinated. Now we can just kind of scale back what we're doing because the economy's still failing. They need to figure this shit out. They don't have an answer for it because they don't even know what 2022 is going to look like. I mean, we're dealing with this as much as the last situation we dealt with Cuomo. We don't know what the fuck's going on. They don't even know what the fuck's going on. They're just doing it because they can. Plain and simple. CDC is not the end all be all. What they do is give you suggestive things to do, and then you can make it as you will.
Were we saying that? Were we saying that when the vaccine was coming out, and they were highlighting the importance of the vaccine? We weren't saying that then, were we?
No, but the thing is, we still weren't forcing it down everybody. Like, we made the choice for ourselves to protect ourselves and people around us. But the CDC still took its stance as what we were led to believe. And now that they're trying to go back on some aspects, not go back, but just kind of change the narrative now is what they're doing. You know, I mean, it is what it is. But we didn't go into this blind eye saying the CDC is 100%. We were still skeptical of some vaccines as far as, you know, the responses, what we're getting from the efficacy rate we're talking about, things of these nature. And then just the fact of people who got exposed and the death rates. And I'm going to be honest with you, the longer we've stuck in 2021 dealing with the vaccines and dealing with the deaths and things like that, I have a problem because I'm starting to see more of a trend of just everything being labeled as a COVID death, where people just can't die from natural causes anymore or just from something else. It all has to be tied into COVID because there's funding in COVID. And I'm starting to see a lot of things, like things we wouldn't think of in 2020, bro, or even 2019 for that matter. It's like, oh, my aunt just died. Oh, what was COVID related? Like, no, she was old. But they'll list it as a COVID related death. And I've seen and I've heard some people that I specifically personally know who have said that. It's like, no, she was old, she had cancer. But they're listing it as a COVID related death because the funding goes to that institution. So it just kind of, I have a very strong distaste for what's going on now when it comes to COVID related anything. You know, I'm still going to do my responsible part, my choice. You know what I'm saying? But I'm not going to take the same stance and belief now with the more knowledge that comes out and or lack thereof for that matter. You know, it's more or less going to be more researchable for me as far as, all right, let me see what we're talking about. Let me look into why you're telling me this, or let me look to why you're not telling me this. What's the underlying factors we're missing here?
B, this sounds very similar to kind of what you were saying last year or the beginning of this year.
Absolutely.
So I'm going to give you the opportunity to, you know, speak on it.
Yeah, I mean, you know, last year, or 6 months ago, 7 months ago, when the vaccines first started, you know, really rolling out, that was kind of my thing, right? What aren't they telling us?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And this is why, I mean, I got vaccinated way after you guys got vaccinated for this exact reason, right? Because, you know, I don't necessarily trust any government entity to tell me 100% of the truth the first time something falls out of their mouth, right? That's just a learned response at this point. You know what I'm saying? As far as it pertains to the 5-day thing, you know, I don't know what the science says at this point, right? The science has said a lot of things. So if you're telling me that, you know, post 5 days of symptoms that you're okay to stop isolating and then, you know, take a test and test negative or what have you, then I guess, right? How would I, the regular person, really be able to refute what the scientist is telling me?
So
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I guess I'm not asking you necessarily to refute it, right? I'm just let's play the guessing game here.
Well,
if we had to guess, right? Can we maybe they factored in the majority of the population being vaccinated, at least you know, but with was it the 2 shots, right? Maybe they're factoring that in. Maybe they're factoring in having a little bit more information on the COVID-19 strand of the coronavirus, right? Maybe not so much the Omicron or the Delta, but just overall, just having a little bit more info,
right,
in a baseline. And like I said, right now I am just taking stabs here. Like B just said, I'm not a scientist. I don't work for the CDC. I haven't been studying the virus and vaccination efforts at all.
Right.
But I'm curious as to what were some of the factors that went into the CDC saying you no longer have to take 14 days to quarantine or 10 days to quarantine, and now it's 5 days. And if any of that has if any of it has to do with people are back to work now, back in the office now, back in the community now, back in the field now.
So let me jump in just for a second here, because part of what they said was the incubation time for these variants and strands now is a shorter time period than what we had in the beginning, right? When this first started happening back in 2020, I think people started getting sick around like day 5 or 6, and then like days 10, 11, and 12 were like the worst days of the sickness or something. With Omicron, it seems to be that people are getting sicker quicker.
Right.
Right. So from their exposure day, if they got exposed on a Sunday, we know by Tuesday if they're having symptoms, right? Rather than it taking all the way till Thursday or something like that, Thursday, Friday. So I think that's what they're saying is part of the reason for the changed guidance. But again, right, conspiracy theory time, like you said, people are back to work. You know what I'm saying? The economy is actually doing rather well by any standards other than media outrage standards, right? So when we start to look at the recovery of the economy over the last couple of years, when we start to look at the unemployment rate, which last I saw was like at 4.6%, right? Any other time we're celebrating 4.6% unemployment. You know what I'm saying? There's a fucking parade going on for 4.6% unemployment. But right now we're talking about, all these jobs that can't be filled, all these people that can't show up to work because of this. And then you start to look at those things and you say, okay, maybe what they're trying to do is the people that are working, they know they're going to get sick because they're not going to put in a full mask mandate. They're not going to make sure that they pass anything that actually looks to protect workers, right? So instead of having them out for 2 weeks, we'll just have them out for 1.
Do you think that, and we spoke about the economy, but do you think that still factors in heavily? I feel like that's still a heavy factor into why, I know that
absolutely.
You look at these Omicron and just COVID-19 cases shooting back up.
Yeah.
With 20,000 positive tests in one day and things of that nature,
bro.
Well, Omicron is also the chickenpox version of what COVID is right now. I mean, it's very transmissible, but as far as death related, it's not to the numbers that actual COVID-19 itself was in the beginning because of most of these people being vaccinated now.
Right.
So Omicron, if you're vaccinated and you catch it, you're not going to really, more than likely, statistically die from that.
Yeah, your likelihood is much lower.
In which case, if you do catch Omicron, people, like I said, people are treating this like the chickenpox. Oh, you got it? Let me hang around you real quick.
Right.
Let me get it. Boom, I'm good.
Wait, somebody's doing that?
People are doing this, bro.
They were doing this in the beginning. Remember they were throwing the COVID parties and all of that kind of stuff in the beginning, bro? Like was
this before or after ivermectin?
No, this was before.
Jeez.
They've been doing this since the jump, bro. Like, I don't understand it, but Omicron out here in Jersey, bro, it's putting up Wilt Chamberlain numbers.
Yeah.
This was pre-drink bleach or post-drink bleach?
Pre-drink bleach. Yeah.
Sheesh.
They was having college parties
Do not
and
drink
stuff,
bleach.
bro, where they was they was doing all of that. They was having frat parties and all all these get-togethers and stuff so people could go get sick because it's like, oh, it's not a big deal. Next thing you know, people dead.
But
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, because I was just gonna make a joke, but it's not time.
No, we were talking about the economy, and I mean, it's really not where we're used to. It's hit or miss. I mean, like I said, we talked about Black Friday before. You really haven't seen Black Friday numbers anywhere. I'd be surprised to see the companies actually turn their profit this year. The S&P and NASDAQ, they're still dipping as we speak. Crypto's still dipping as we speak. Like these companies a lot of them are still in the red. And it's not so much because the work is going back. Well, it is part of that too, but supplies.
Let's actually take a look at that. Because I did see some numbers.
Well,
Now, again, we're not talking about the increase for 2020. Excuse me. We got to look at the LY versus this year.
Right.
So
Right.
We're not exceeding anything from LY. Well, we may because of shutdown, but 2019 is the year that everybody's using. So that would be the baseline year, not 2020.
Sure.
So in comparison to that, we're nowhere near where we used to be, in the least.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, again, I'm in that environment. I know, like, bro, I'll tell you right now, the fourth quarter for me was very laxed. Very laxed.
So I feel like, based off of what you guys are saying, we have one part of the population throwing Omicron parties.
Yeah.
And we had another part of the population calling it the Omarion.
Facts.
And that just goes to show that we don't take anything serious.
No.
When I first heard about Omicron, I thought Transformers movie was making another one. I was, he's back. Oh wait, that's Unicron. Never mind.
We don't take anything serious.
No.
Because
I mean, what are we gonna do? Like, in all honesty, like There's nothing that people can do from it. You know what I'm saying? So, like everybody's gonna make a joke about everything at this point anyway. Like,
well, the joke, I guess the joke is to deal with to move away from the seriousness of you didn't do your part by getting vaccinated, and you know.
What's China doing? That's what we need to follow.
China's putting cities in lockdown, bro.
Yeah, there you go.
You understand what I'm saying? Like, China is back to putting places in lockdown.
There you go.
Why we always bring up China?
Because I know you hate it when I do.
That's always the, oh my goodness. I just know I'm going to get so much heat from you saying what's China doing. I'm going to catch the flag. It's always me.
It's your name on this
It
thing.
is. It's all, I did not say that. That was Esso that said that.
Listen, Bo Juddy.
Who's really gonna get mad other than Inez Cantor Freedom? You know what I'm saying? Like, man started a whole campaign against Nike and LeBron and was quickly shut down. Haven't heard from him since.
That was B. Davis.
You know what I'm
that
saying? Yeah, Inez Cantor Freedom. At B Davis Project on Twitter. Holla at me.
All right, so what you got over there?
I'm still trying to find versus the 2018 numbers.
All right, no
That's what I was
problem.
trying to say.
18 or 19?
18.
Are you doing 18?
Oh no, I guess I want 19, right?
Yeah, 19.
Okay,
No
that's
problem.
absolutely correct.
I guess I kind of want to get into today. We got the guilty verdict for Ghislaine Maxwell.
Yeah.
5 out of 6 guilty verdicts.
Good.
And I guess my question is, right? We've talked about her several times on the podcast, and now it's like, does she make it to sentencing?
Well, it depends on who she wants to rat out when they go to her and ask if she wants to cooperate.
Right.
Because that's the next part of what's going to happen, right? Up until sentencing, they're going to say, so you're looking at life in prison. Now, we can make that a comfortable life in prison, or we can make that an Epstein life in prison. Up to you.
Okay. So, you gonna agree? You're
Yeah.
just gonna
I'm just going to agree.
Did I say something wrong?
No, you
didn't.
100% hit
You
it.
didn't. You
That's it, bro.
You did. You hit the nail on the head.
you go.
That's what happens in these types of cases, bro. Like, you know, the government's going to be like, okay, now who can we, because remember, there's a lot of powerful people that are tied up in this case. A lot of powerful people that are tied up in this case that have been mentioned as being on those planes and on those islands. You understand? So if you want to talk about political pressure, here it is, right? Whose names are gonna pop up, right? Because let's be honest, the elite of the elite is who we're talking about now.
The 1%.
This is so about, what was it, 4 years ago when they were talking about Pizzagate? This is what the hell they were talking about.
Yeah.
Right? And while everybody was roundly criticizing them because they were talking about the basement of some random pizza shop in DC and the logo on the sign out front, which admittedly sounds very far-fetched, this is the premise that they were referring to during that conspiracy theory. This right here, these people, right, when you're talking about the elite cabal that literally run the world, have been flying around apparently to private islands having sex with underage girls. Everyone is scared, bro. Everyone wants to have this woman knocked off. Everyone. Except me, because I didn't do shit. So I'm interested to see what she has to say.
Yeah.
But as far as people that matter, they are not trying to see this. You know what I'm saying? They're not trying to see this. I wouldn't be surprised if there's a terrorist attack that occurs and then something horrible happens to her in the background. Seriously.
Yeah. The deflection, right?
At the false flags, bro.
The bait and switch.
The false flag has to happen.
Yeah.
This is the time when some random thing occurs, right? We're about to go to war. You know what I'm saying? Iowa's getting bombed off the map by the Chinese and the Venezuelans. Like, I don't know. Something wild is going to occur. And then it's been like, oh, and Ghislaine Maxwell slit her wrist today in jail. Crazy. Back to you, Ted.
Yeah, that's gonna be small print.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
that's what's gonna happen, man.
All right. So, I guess last topic, right? I know that was a short segment on Ghislaine, but I mean, I don't know what else can be said other than just watch the ticker tape on your news,
Yeah, man.
basically.
It's gonna be nuts.
Yeah. When are the midterms?
Next November?
22, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm asking that, right? Because now I feel like I feel like we're starting to hear a little bit more of this, the pre-election talk about student loans and things like that. And while I've already stated where I stood on that, I'm at the point now where I'm kind of like, prove it.
Oh yeah,
At this point,
absolutely, bro.
Prove it, and let's not make it lip service like B says, and let's not make it. What did you call it? No, I think you called it lip service. And so, let's not get to the talking points that the people voted you on, just so that you can do well on midterms.
Right.
Like let's make this a thing. Like let's make this thing for real.
So here's the question, because we're talking about midterms, we're talking about what we voted for in the House now. Are you willing to go against, and this isn't to you, it's more or less to everybody who's out there, are you willing to vote against the party you've always supported? Because then you just fall right back into, well, I don't want to vote for, in this case, for example, a Republican, because I don't trust them, because of this, because of that.
I've stated this in the past, and I hold firm to this, that I don't care about the party as much as the policy. Now, do I believe that either party has my best interests?
Of course I don't.
At heart? No, I don't at all. But at this point, this was the person that was voted for.
Right.
These were the things he was voted in for. And at this point, I want to see some action. I mean, if my vote matters, if my vote counts, my voice matters, then I'm voicing my opinion. I'm expressing myself right here, right now, on what I want to see happen, and stop giving me lip service.
Yeah.
That's kind of where I'm at with it.
Yeah.
What you think?
No, you're absolutely right. But we voted in a moderate president who's not interested in doing progressive tasks like that, unless he's actually pushed. And when you have people like Kristen Sinema and Joe Manchin, who sit on the Democratic side of the aisle, who just come out and say, "Nah, no, you want a child tax credit? Nah, I don't think so, fam." You know what I'm saying? We're not doing that. So like, when you look at some of the things that they objected to in Build Back Better, that would have been decent improvements for a lot of working class families, that they were just like, I don't. Why should we give these people any money? Why should we give these people an opportunity to do something? What do you mean you want paid leave for maternity vacations after you give birth to a child? Like, you know what I'm saying? Stuff like that. Like what it allows Biden to now sit back and take the exact position that we knew he was going to take regardless. You know what I'm saying? And when you have 50 Republicans who are set on just being obstructionists and saying no to everything,
It's a perfect storm.
you're in gridlock. Because it's not just Joe Manchin's fault. It's not just Kristen Sinema's fault. There's 50 Republican senators in the Senate that have also said, hey, you know what? We're not voting on this shit.
Right.
We don't, as a matter of fact, we don't even want to bring it up for debate. We don't even want to argue the validity of the things that you want. That's where we're at. Yeah. So Biden has a lot of cover, right? Because they'll come out and say things like, "Oh, well, we thought Biden was going to get rid of this virus. What happened?" And I'm like, "Bruh, you didn't want to put on a mask." You know what I'm saying? Like that's really all we asked, was put a piece of paper over your face when you was talking to somebody. Oh, well, that's my freedoms. But he said he was going to get rid of the virus. Well, bro, but you're breathing the virus around. So what did you reasonably expect? But these are the semantic arguments that we're forced to have because people keep platforming bad faith actors. And this is where we're stuck at. So I don't think Biden's going to get anything done on Build Back Better this year. I don't think he's going to get anything done on student loans. Mainly because I don't think he wants to get anything done on student loans. I'm very doubtful that we're going to get anything done on voting rights, right? There's a case in the Ohio Supreme Court right now about their redistricting and the things that they're doing to try to keep people off the ballots, you know what I'm saying, or rather off the rolls and all that kind of stuff, and how they're trying to swing things over to GOP favor. You know what I mean? So where are we at with all of that? For all of the people in the Senate who claim these are big deals, who claim that something must be done. Well,
listen, everything that was done that needed to be done is done. Plain and simple. Everything else is just meh.
Right.
But we'll just see.
Right. That's it.
We'll play.
That's
the
it.
game. We'll act like we're putting stuff to policy, and then it gets denied, and you move on to the next.
Yeah.
We tried, but we couldn't get it done. Well, you know what? when you want something done, trust me, you get that shit done.
At least they're willing to play,
That's all they do is play.
unlike Ben Simmons.
Wow.
Even Ben Simmons took a shot once in a while. Once in a while.
Jesus.
But B, I got your NASDAQ and your S&P if you want to check it.
Yeah.
I also sent
For
the
what?
GC.
The market's for when? This year?
So they're looking at the NASDAQ, or excuse me, S&P itself. They're saying that the S&P is actually poised to underperform for the first time since 2016.
Stock talk.
Stock talk, yeah.
Yeah.
Secondly is, if you're looking at NASDAQ, this is based on the points. This is not obviously finishing out the 2020 year just yet, but as of right now, 2019 was at 37 points and 2021 is at 27. So it's literally 10-point difference from there.
Right. But I mean, we're talking about returns here, right? So we're talking about
Right,
profits.
those are returns.
So we're talking about profits being made. So
But the profits are still 20 under from 2020 overall.
Sure.
So-
So when I was saying that the economy is not in a bad place, like from where we came from, like we might not be quite back to where we stopped at, but when you're talking about a 48% return one year, a 27% return another year, remember, for most of these companies, they didn't leave their money stagnant in the market that time. They didn't fall off.
Well, the S&P
like that,
will
you know what I'm saying?
dictate that. That's the issue. And for those who aren't familiar with the S&P is the top 500 companies
Right.
overall.
Right.
And that number can change of who the company is,
Yes.
just based on volume.
Right.
So that's an understanding of what the difference is between NASDAQ and that. NASDAQ is everybody. S&P is literally like the elite of the elite.
And this is why I don't like this is why I don't like some of those groupings, right? Because like Apple's about to be worth, what is it, $3 trillion now?
Yeah.
One company,
Yeah.
right? So you think about how much weight Apple, Amazon, Meta,
Yeah.
Alphabet, you know what I'm saying? You think about how much weight they apply to some of those metrics, right? And then that's how they talk about the economy. What I'm saying is by the measures that they used to talk about the economy, when politicians would get up in front of us and talk about, oh, the American economy is doing so well, we're doing those things right now. You see what I'm saying? In the same vein of what they used to
Right.
tell us. There's always been the divide of Wall Street versus Main Street.
Yeah.
Right? Main Street is in shambles. You know what I'm
Yes,
saying?
sir.
When you're talking about whether it be in the inflation that's happening, the rising cost of what's going on, because everybody's raising their prices up so they can have those returns, so we can get that 47%,
Yeah.
that 27% return, right? Main Street is feeling that. Businesses, on the other hand, they're not. Because if they were, they'd be competing. For the businesses that are complaining that, oh, we can't hire, we have to cut hours, that's a choice, bro. That's your choice. You could compete on wages if you wanted to. You see what I'm saying? See, they love it when they have too many people hiring and they can make those wages go down. But when people are selective about the jobs that they take, then suddenly it's a big deal.
Well, they still have to keep look, wages is the number one expense in any company.
Absolutely. But they're not being they're being bad faith actors when they're talking about the reasons why they don't actually have people. See, they're making it seem like people don't want to work. They're trying to make it seem like, oh, well, Americans are just lazy. They don't want jobs. The reality is a lot of people retired. You had a lot of people who retired from the workforce who just didn't go back.
Well, that, but there's also the fact that we had the government literally kicking in more money than these companies even offer collectively.
You're absolutely correct.
They're trying to battle that expectation.
But that's what I'm saying. What I'm saying there is that battle is already over for the most part. Like if you're looking at the real jobs
really
numbers,
think it is, though,
yes.
seriously?
If you're looking
You
at
think
the
it is?
actual data from people that are not working anymore, it's those people that formerly would have retired, and then the percentage of people that retire and then re-enter the workforce. That number has dropped significantly. That's where they're really feeling the pinch of not having people in the workplace anymore.
But see, the funny thing is, too, is because we're talking about wages. And again, people are offering now $15 ahead of the curve of what we expect 2025, 2026.
Sure.
But we'll also have the inflation issue. So it just kind of nullifies everything now.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So
Right.
here we are, square one again.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Which this is the conversation that we had when we first talked about the fight for 15, I think
Yep.
a few months ago. And I said the number needs to be 25.
Yeah.
Because what's going to happen is rent's going to go up, the price of food's going to go up, the price of gas is going up, and as soon as you get to 15, it's not going to be enough.
Yeah.
And what have we seen that has literally happening in front of our eyes?
Exactly.
Right? The housing market exploding, ridiculous. You know what I'm saying? Houses that used to be 180,000 are 330,000 right now for no goddamn reason. Way too expensive. You know what I'm saying? The food is up, gas
that
is up.
personal.
Yeah, hell yeah, take that personal, bro. You know what I'm saying? Property taxes are about to be crazy, and I'm not trying to hear about my property taxes going up anymore.
He's out here like, yeah, I had 5 houses lined up.
Right?
Trying
Now
to buy
I
the
only
block.
have 3.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to buy a block, bro. But that's what's going on. And so now we're already at that point
Right.
that I prophesized or theorized that we wouldn't get to for another couple of years. They went ahead and just said, fuck it, let's just do it now.
You heard it from the Black Messiah.
You know what I'm saying? This we might as well just go ahead and do it right now, and that's where we are. So when
Right.
people look at $15 an hour and they're saying, well, it's going to cost me X amount to fill my tank up every week. You know what I'm saying? My light bill ain't getting no cheaper. You know what I'm saying? My food bill ain't getting no cheaper.
Right.
You know what I mean? I still got expenses. I got kids. I got this. I got that. I got to take care of. None of that shit's getting no cheaper. 15 ain't working for me now.
Right.
I need 18. I need 20. I need 22.
Well, I think we always say 25 was sustainable, I think, for the average American.
25 is like the baseline of sustainability, basically. And if you look at the amount of work as defined by like OSHA, like the amount of work per person that gets done, as far as the amount of money that gets made from work generated,
Right.
it comes out to around about $25 a person
Which is
per hour anyway.
25, 8,
It's 50,000 a year.
50.
Yeah,
I got like 40.
no, it's 50, right on 50,000 a year.
40.
But that's where if we have really adjusted for inflation and the amount of work that gets done, that's where we should be at based on the actual output of work that occurs.
Yeah.
Which then changed the expectation of graduating degrees of what they expect from that.
Bro, there's jobs out there that are asking for master's degree for $17 an hour.
No, I know. That's what I'm saying.
Like, what are
it's
they
almost
doing?
Ridiculous in some aspects.
Well, that's a conversation for another time.
Yeah.
And no, I agree with you, and I think that we absolutely need to.
That's
add that to the
wild,
document.
bro. Like,
But we'll table that conversation because that's something. Well, I know we talked about it before,
Yeah.
but we can bring it back because
you gotta slap somebody for doing something like that. Like,
for real,
that's crazy.
for real.
Man, that's 6 years of school.
It is disrespectful.
$17 an hour.
It is disrespectful.
Come on, fam.
But that's where we're at right now. So, all right. Does anybody have anything like real quick that they want to throw out, shout out, anything like that, or we good?
Nope.
Nah, I'm good, bro.
Good.
Yeah.
All right. Episode 62 is in the books. Appreciate you guys for coming through. Appreciate the listeners. Appreciate the YouTube viewers. Thank you guys. As always, like I said, continue to tap in every week. Our social media handles are in the description of every episode for the digital streaming, whether it's Apple, Spotify, Buzzsprout, Deezer, wherever you're listening. And on YouTube, I make sure I put the details in the description as well for our social media handles. Please remember who said the controversial things tonight. All right. While I will absolutely check and look, I will be forwarding all comments to the appropriate party.
What are you trying to say, bro? 'Cause I feel like that's aimed at me.
It's not aimed at you. It's not just you.
Good.
He's not looking over here.
You know what I mean? Like,
Oh, shit, it is 52. I'm tripping. You're right.
Math wasn't mathing for you for a
Those
second.
are mathing for me.
All right. But no, appreciate you guys. Thank you guys. As always, continue to tap into the From Earth podcast. This is Julius from Earth signing out. Peace.